Um, Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us for this important event. My name is Tom Hucker, and I'm the president of the Montgomery County Council. Everyone who registered should have a Facebook Live link. We're also sharing it now in the chat. So please post now to your social media channels to help us spread the word across Maryland. Good afternoon, everyone. We launched this campaign only 3 weeks ago when the news broke that the Senate Republicans under Mitch McConnell would not include local and state aid in the newest stimulus package. In that short time, this campaign has resonated with Maryland residents in every jurisdiction in Maryland, all 24 of them. So we wanted to begin today by recognizing our residents. With this roll call, I'll read the name and the city of 1 or 2 residents who have signed into our call for action for Governor Hogan. A few people are not able to be shown on Zoom today, but I'm proud that every county is represented on the call. After we read their name, they'll switch to hold up a sign about what this campaign means to them. First, from Allegheny County, we have Sandra Corbin in Cumberland. From Anne Arundel County, Keanu Smith-Brown in Annapolis. We have Mark McLaurin from the city of Baltimore. From Baltimore County, Linda Dorsey Walker from Owings Mills. From Calvert County, Commissioner Earl Buddy Hance. From Caroline County, we have Melissa Fisher from Federalsburg. From Carroll County, Jacqueline Mahano from Mount Airy and Tom Scanlon. From Cecil County, Dawn from Elkton. From Charles County, we have Vontasha Sims. From Dorchester County, Mary Hanley is here from Cambridge. From Frederick County, William Reed from Frederick City. From Garrett County, we have Keith from Oakland. From Harford County, we have Jason and Jessica Schlotthauer from Havre Grace. From Howard County, we have Nikki Napau and Ashley Moorfield from Columbia. From Kent County, Brianna Miller from Camden. From Montgomery County, we have Julisa Mahano from Rockville. From Prince George's County, Julio from Hyattsville. From Queen Anne's County, we have Brittany Stein from Centerville. From Somerset County, Brianna Bowen from Princess Anne. From St. Mary's County, Pat Elder from Lexington Park. From Talbot County, Judy Wexted from Cordova. From Washington County, we have Randy Barber from Rohrersville. And from Wacomico County, we have Walter Harwood from Salisbury. And finally, in Worcester County, Amber from Berlin. You can see from all their signs, just some of the keywords about this campaign, why this campaign matters to them. We have hospitality and restaurant workers, economic justice for frontline workers, food on the table, save our businesses, keep the lights on, protect essential workers, Maryland strong. Those are all the sentiments that bring us here today. Before we start the speaking program, we need to have a brief moment of silence for all those who have lost their lives across the state, country, and world from this pandemic. Thank you. Before I present our guest speakers, I want to just give a little context. We're all here today because Maryland is suffering from the greatest health crisis since the Spanish flu of 1918 and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Our unmet needs are immense and they're growing. 20,000 to 30,000 of our state's small businesses have shuttered their doors for good, and 1 in 4 report that they're likely to close in the next few months. At least 240,000 Maryland households are facing eviction, and collectively, they are $300 million behind on their rent. Across Maryland, from the mountains to the ocean, cars line up for miles for emergency food distributions. Local governments have spent hundreds of millions of dollars to meet these needs, both federal funding from the CARES Act, as well as our local tax dollars. But there's still unmet need as far as the eye can see. We were counting on more aid to local governments in the next federal government package, but unfortunately, aid to local governments was stripped from the package by Mitch McConnell, leaving unmet needs to a tremendous level. Senator Van Hollen, I'm so thankful to you and Senator Cardin, Congressman Brown, all our House members for moving that critical package to passage. It has many essential things in it, like unemployment insurance, support for Metro, and many other items. But unfortunately, it doesn't have the emergency aid we were counting on for our residents and our small businesses and our local governments. And of course, Mitch McConnell specifically pulled out the $2,000 federal stimulus checks. That proposal failed as well, which would have brought a much needed financial cushion to millions of Americans. So that's why we need a Maryland stimulus, to keep our families fed and housed and our small businesses open. The state has ample resources and a well-funded rainy day fund saved specifically for an economic crisis just like the one we're all living through. And the state doesn't just have funds, the state has a responsibility to use our tax dollars properly to relieve suffering for our residents and our small businesses. There is no reason that in the wealthiest state, in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, that we have hundreds of thousands of residents hungry and facing eviction and tens of thousands of small businesses closing for good while those state funds sit idle. They should not be gathering dust in Annapolis. Those are our residents' tax dollars, and they are not doing any good in the state treasury. They need to be on the street to keep our residents housed and fed and our small businesses open. They should be on the streets from Oakland to Ocean City and from Cecil to St. Mary's. Now, we have reason to be hopeful. With the recent arrival of the vaccines and a new administration and a new Congress around the corner, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but still, it will be a long time before impactful support from them arrives here in Maryland. And every day, families are hungry and are farther behind on their rent, and every day, more small businesses close for good. Now is the time for Governor Hogan to act aggressively to address the economic crisis resulting from this devastating pandemic and to give Marylanders the support that they need. If you agree, we need you to go to mdreliefnow.com and sign the call to Governor Hogan. Let me turn it over to someone who I want to thank because he's consistently urged Governor Hogan to release those funds, the Chief Fiscal Officer of the state of Maryland, Comptroller Peter Franchot.
Thank you very much, Tom. And your job as the president of the Montgomery County Council is so important in this exercise. And I just want to thank you for your leadership and your advocacy. Your Chief of Staff, Dave Coons, has been so great. And I think we have some real traction here and some real probability that this is all going to happen. I'd like to salute Senator Van Hollen and Congressman Brown for being with us. And just on behalf of all of us, apologize for the mayhem that occurred in Washington on Wednesday. Just to thank each of you for the courage to stand up to do the right thing. And hopefully we're going to hold a lot of people accountable for a unbelievably unacceptable travesty of violence and hatred, bigotry, and racism. So thank you for, both for joining us today. Anthony, especially, I saw you. I don't know whether Chris is on, but I could, on a light moment, wish Senator Van Hollen a very, very happy birthday and many happy returns, because that's what today is.
Thank you, Peter.
Chris, you don't look a day older than you're my fountain of youth. So hang in there, and you know, God bless you. And sorry about Wednesday. That was just hopefully it'll never be repeated again.
Amen.
So, Tom, as you mentioned, the pandemic has wreaked havoc not just on the folks that have suffered from the virus, but also on the state's economy. And it's unbelievable how deep the damage is. Hopefully, we'll have the coronavirus vaccine distributed sufficiently to corral the virus in the next few months. But the economic recovery is going to take years. And, you know, I don't mean to be doom and gloom, but we have a lot of building back and creating new jobs for the ones that have disappeared. It's ironic because the solution, the vaccine, is so close and it's right around the corner. And thank God, President-elect Biden is going to become president. So there's relief from the Senate and the House that's tantalizingly close. But we have pain and suffering among hundreds of thousands of Marylanders right now. Half a block from my house in Tacoma Park, there are long lines of people standing in the cold 4 hours waiting for free food. We have 462,830 Maryland families, single filers and dual filers, who we know are low wage earners. So people that make $20,000 to $30,000 a year, $40,000 max. They have lost their employment because through no fault of their own, because of the pandemic. Many of them are in the hospitality sector. Why are we so focused on 462,830 of our families? Because they have kids. They have small kids. They need food. They need medicine. They need money to pay their rent. I believe that the Biden administration will provide a big stimulus, and I couldn't be more impatient for that. I'm sure Governor Hogan and Senate President Ferguson and Speaker Jones in Annapolis are having all sorts of conversations and understandings about relief. That's all great. I'm all for it. I applaud everybody who can generate that. But what we need right now is a significant amount of relief put immediately into the bloodstream of the state. And I'm not talking about next week or end of this month or maybe February after we have all sorts of hearings. I'm talking about immediately. We have the capacity to do that in the Comptroller's office. These are all tax-paying citizens and residents. We have the information. If the governor, Senate President, Speaker Jones, with all due respect, would just lean out their window and give me the thumbs up, and authorize me to do it, I, as Comptroller, will immediately, within several days, put $925 million into the accounts of these very needy, suffering Marylanders. And the reason it's so frustrating is that we can add $250 million for our restaurant and other sector, hospitality sector, to save small businesses. And once again, I emphasize this is real money speedily delivered. You don't have to fill out an application for it. We know who they are. If I'm authorized to do that, it's going to have a tremendous beneficial effect upon all of these suffering Marylanders, but even more, it will jumpstart the state's economy because that money has a multiplier effect. And one reason why I'm so frustrated is that it is immediately replenishable, because we're going to go to the markets in March for additional debt. That's what the state normally does. We can add $1.5 billion in debt on a one-time only basis to the state of Maryland and use that both at the state and local level to back out operating funds that have been put into capital projects. So you can immediately put the rainy day fund back to where it was for the rating agencies up in New York, et cetera. I don't mean to be sound as if I'm very agitated here. I am very agitated because I see these food lines. I hear from folks all the time about the inability to communicate with unemployment problems, the inability to even begin to figure out the alphabet soup of federal and state relief plans. These are the little guys. These are the little people in our state. They have paid taxes. They have worked. They have, through no fault of their own, been put in a financial annihilation, really. They don't have any money at all. They don't have any cash. And these businesses, I'm including because they are owned by relatively small Marylanders also, they don't have the ability to hire lawyers and lobbyists and go and get all of these relief funds that are out there. So I'm doubling down on my request. It's not just Governor Hogan, it's also the Senate President and the Speaker of the House. They need to act yesterday. And God bless the federal level, Chris and Anthony. God bless the state of Maryland for being able to put together relief packages. We can't wait. We've already waited too long. And I'm just, I'm just kind of at the end of my rope because we thought that the feds would be able to come through. And obviously Mitch McConnell, as Tom mentioned, removed a lot of what we needed, but the state can step in. And that's kind of what this whole virtual town hall or meeting is about. I want to applaud everybody who's going to speak. I want to applaud everybody that is on. And once again, better days lie ahead. The end of this calendar year is going to be like the roaring 20s as far as our economy. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel that is not an approaching train. There is a light. There's a better day ahead for Maryland, but could we please help out our friends and neighbors right now? who are suffering. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peter, for your leadership on this topic. Now, Senator Van Hollen, no surprise that he's hard at work on his birthday. Happy birthday, Chris. We're so grateful for everything you do for all of us Marylanders. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you for the birthday greetings, but most importantly, thank all of you for being, part of this effort to make sure that we get relief urgently to Marylanders who need it most. We've all worked very hard together during this past year to defeat this pandemic, to reach out to our neighbors in need. But we all know that while vaccines are on the way and we need to deploy them much more quickly, I'm glad that President-elect Biden is making that a priority. The reality is people are still hurting very badly, and it's going to take us some time to get that vaccine in everybody's arms. Let me say a word about what happened at the Capitol the other night as well. And I want to thank all of you who reached out to members of the Maryland delegation. I know Senator Cardin would want me to send greetings. Anthony Brown is with us. I want to thank him for his leadership on so many fronts. Our entire delegation, of course, our hearts are with the Raskin family and Jamie Raskin, and thank all of you for standing in solidarity with him and his family during this time of immeasurable pain. And of course, Jamie has carried on to stand up for our democracy during this period of time. What we witnessed the other day is something I think none of us ever thought we would see in the United States of America. A mob, a violent mob, ransacking the Capitol, overrunning the floor of the House and the Senate. The saddest part is this is really the predictable result of 4 years of a president who has abused his power, been lawless, and since the election, of course, spread the big lie that in fact he was cheated out of an election when we know every court has laughed them out. Because when you have to testify under a penalty of perjury, none of this is true, not remotely. And yet aided and abetted by people like Hawley and Cruz, you saw this mob attack the Capitol. This is seditious behavior. We saw the Confederate flag flown. We saw them pull down the American flag and replace it with the Trump flag. We need to ask everybody, regardless of their political party, where they stand on this issue, because this is not democracy in the United States of America. We obviously need a full investigation into the breakdown of security and to the double standard that was applied. We all know that had this been one of those more peaceful demonstrations for Black Lives Matter, we would have seen a very different result. So many big questions. We have to hold people accountable. And I do support removing the president by any legal means possible as quickly as possible and holding people accountable. Thank you all for being part of that. Obviously, the good news is there was a bright spot, 2 big wins in the Senate seats in Georgia. Reverend Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. We have a razor-thin majority in the Senate, majority in the House, and of course, on January 20th, the swearing in of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's all good news, but it will not guarantee quick and immediate relief because we still have Mitch McConnell in the United States Senate, and we saw him block the $2,000 payments in the Senate. We still need to go through that procedure. I'm one of the people who supports ultimately, getting rid of the filibuster and reforming all that. But until then, there's no guarantee, although we will fight hard for it, that more relief is going to be immediate. I know President Biden is going to make this and has made it a top priority. I'm really pleased we were able to come together on a bipartisan basis and deliver the $900 billion. But as people have pointed out, I want to thank Peter for his comments and his leadership, and all of you at the state level and county level and all the activists. As we well know, that was as important as that bill is for providing relief. It has some big gaps. The biggest one being, of course, the absence of funds for state and local governments, which are in desperate need. And Governor Hogan has acknowledged that. He asked for $500 billion as part of the next relief package. That $500 billion is not in here. There's no direct aid for state and local governments. And as recently as December 22nd, Governor Hogan said that while he appreciated the bill that was passed, he was very disappointed, his words, that it did not include funds for state and local government. I'm assuming that, like all of us, the governor recognizes that since that money is not there coming from the federal government, that it was desperately needed by the state. And since those needs remain ongoing and urgent right now, it is really important that the rainy day fund be used for meeting these needs of people who are most vulnerable, that have been hit hardest by our pandemic. And right now is the time to do it. If a COVID-19 global pandemic is not a rainy day, I don't know what is. We are in a torrential downpour and worse. And all of you, I think, recognize that this money has been put in the rainy day fund for this kind of crisis, to help people who are in desperate need at this moment. So I hope that in addition to the federal aid that is coming, the $900 billion, and as we work to provide another round of relief and to build back better, that in this moment that we will be successful at getting those funds released. They're in desperate need. This is a crisis. What's the whole purpose of having a rainy day fund is to meet the needs of people at this time. So Tom, thank you for bringing us together. Thank all of you who are part of the Maryland Relief Now effort. And I see my good friend, Anthony Brown. I want to thank him. So thank you for the birthday greetings. The best birthday present for me would be to, remove this president from office, see the new swearing in of the president, and get this urgent relief now from the rainy day fund for the people of Maryland. Thank you, Tom. Let me turn it over to my good friend, Anthony Brown, and thank him for his great leadership.
Thanks so much, Senator.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Let me start by thanking Tom Hucker, your team, David Coons, or the organizers for today's rally. I do want to thank Chris for his leadership in the Maryland congressional delegation, in the United States Senate, certainly one of the true leaders across the board on so many issues. Also want to thank you, Chris, for recounting the events that occurred on Wednesday, reminding us that our nation, our capital, was under siege in an insurrection inspired by the president. And I would just ask each and every one of you on the call on this rally, please keep in your thoughts and prayers the family of the Capitol Police officer who we lost, Brian Sicknick, a 12-year veteran of the force. He also served in the Air National Guard, deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, a good man, a decent man, and no longer with his family, his friends, and the Capitol community. So please keep him in and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Look, I'm proud to stand with each of you today as we call on Governor Hogan to do the right thing, to deliver relief to working families, small businesses, and vulnerable communities that continue to suffer during this pandemic. And we're just simply saying, Governor Hogan, do your job. For 10 months, our communities have grappled with this pandemic. More than 6,000 Marylanders have died. Infections and hospitalizations are on the rise. Businesses are closed. Students, teachers, and parents are unsure when a sense of normalcy will return to the classroom. And families are unemployed, wondering how they're going to make ends meet this month, next month, and into the future. And throughout this pandemic, Maryland has not stepped up to the plate. I think Peter accurately reminded us that this is a wealthy state. This is a well-resourced state. We can do better. beginning with the problems with the $9.5 million that Governor Hogan spent on a flawed test kit from South Korea, never taken responsibility for delays in rolling out a comprehensive testing plan, delays in administering the SNAP benefits, and leaving nursing homes to fend for themselves. Maryland has not been a leader among states. Maryland has been one of the slowest states to get unemployment benefits to deserving working people who've been laid off or furloughed. Maryland ranks third from the bottom in getting checks in the hands of struggling families. Governor Hogan, you can do better than that. And now, with this bright spot, it's not a train, it's a vaccine that's coming. Maryland is below the national average. We rank 27 among 50 states in administering the COVID-19 vaccine as more and more Marylanders continue to be infected and die. Governor Hogan, Maryland has always been better than this, and you can and must do much better than that. COVID-19 has disrupted each of our lives, but the impact has disproportionately been felt by Black and brown communities. According to the CDC, a majority of children who have died from COVID-19 have been Black and brown. This is an unprecedented crisis that calls for unprecedented government response to meet this moment and meet the needs of struggling families, small businesses, and communities across our state. Now, as you've heard from Chris, Democrats in Congress have fought to provide lifelines for Americans. And most recently, we extended and strengthened unemployment benefits, provided more money to small businesses with a specific focus on minority-owned businesses. We've reinstated the federal eviction moratorium, along with rental assistance, increased SNAP benefits, provided more money for schools to reopen when the science dictates, and more money to keep the Washington area metro and Marylanders moving. But lifelines and stopgaps are not enough for the American people. Families demand and deserve more money for unemployed Marylanders to help them get by in this difficult economic climate, more aid for renters and homeowners worried about keeping a roof over their heads, more food assistance for children and families to stave off the immense hunger crisis in our country, more aid to state and local governments to keep firefighters, teachers, police officers, sanitation workers, and other public servants on the job, $2,000 survival checks for Americans in need, a quick and orderly vaccine rollout to defeat the virus once and for all, and a state government that works for Marylanders. For months, House Democrats have tried to do more, but we've been stonewalled by Senate Republicans and the outgoing president. For months, they've tried to simply wish the pandemic away, and their delays have cost lives, devastated livelihoods, and taken toll on marginalized Americans, particularly communities of color. I'm excited. With President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, I believe that they, together with a new Democratic House and Senate, we have an opportunity to deliver and aid those who are in need. We will lift up our neighbors, revitalize our communities, and build this country back. Congress has its role to play, and Governor Hogan, so do you. Maryland, as Peter described, and I want to thank Peter for his leadership, has a robust rainy day fund. Use it to provide relief to Marylanders in need. Now is the time for action. Let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congressman, for all your leadership. That was terrific. I also want to recognize that we're joined by Martha Sanchez, representing my congressman, U.S. Congressman Jamie Raskin. And of course, Martha, Senator Van Hollen said, Jamie's in all our thoughts after the horrible events of this week. And we're really grateful for his leadership, despite that, in the middle of a week of just incomparable tragedy. I want to recognize a few other elected officials that have joined us. Senator Susan Lee is here. My colleague, Sydney Katz from the Montgomery County Council, Gaithersburg City Councilman Ryan Siegel is here, and Arundel County Councilwoman Allison Picard. We have a lot of community leaders who represent tens of thousands of tenants and homeowners and small business owners who are in crisis and need help now. Let me begin by introducing Willie Flowers, the president of the Maryland Conference of Branches of the state NAACP. Willie?
Hello, thank you, Council President, and thank you for setting this up. We know that the families and businesses who struggled before struggle more now. We also know that challenged communities with pitfalls and social determinants have been stressed more than they were before this period. Sadly, Black and brown communities have been hit hardest, but we are resilient. The times are not the same. Everyone has been affected, whether you are wherever you live in the state. Look, I live in Howard County and work in Baltimore City. I know that anxiety and stress doesn't stop at the city limits. This coalition is calling on communities to tell your story to your community and elected officials so they can join the action. And assistance looks like this: bridge support for medical care, food and tuition, as well as support for unemployed and small businesses who have been left behind. More importantly, guidance for shelter and eviction assistance. The NAACP has stepped up with funding from the Bay Good organization, and we're offering housing support grants. So go to naacp.org for steps to apply. If the NAACP can leverage funding for families, the state of Maryland can also. Thank you for your support.
Thank you so much, President Flowers. Let me turn it over to Reverend Al Hathaway of the Union Baptist Church. Reverend? Is the Reverend here? Okay, we'll get back to the Reverend. I know we have been joined by Ken O'Connell, the president of the Montgomery County Small Business Association. Ken?
Yes, thank you very much, Tom. Unfortunately, we have a lot of things to mourn today. We do have some things to be hopeful about as well, and I hope that we can focus on those. I can tell you that the small businesses in Montgomery County are suffering terribly. We do have some blessings, and two of them are on this call. County Executive Elridge and Tom Hucker have been blessings to our small businesses in Montgomery County, but they can't do it without the support and the funds from the state. We desperately need these funds. On a personal note, my own company's revenue is down over 30%. We have about 90 employees, and to this date, we have not laid one person off, and we provide health insurance for each and every one of our employees. But Tom, if we have this call 30 days from now, I will not be able to give you that same news. So I see it every day. I just hope we can come together and support our families and support the small businesses in particular, and get things back on track. So I am hopeful that that will happen. I'm very hopeful that after January 20th, things will get much better, but we have a long road ahead of us and we need everyone fighting every day for support, particularly from the state. Thank you for this time. Thank you for putting this together.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Ken. Is Gustavo here from CASA? I don't see him. Let me move on to Sandy Bell from Maryland Now.
Thank you, Councilman Hucker, and thank you for including Maryland Now. While women have continued to make progress during the last 4 years, like getting the ERA ratified by the 38th state and electing the first female woman of color as Vice President of the United States, COVID and Trump's handling of it has devastated the lives of women everywhere. More women than men lost jobs, and with those losses, they were more intense for Black and brown women. This is due to shutdowns in female-dominated businesses like childcare, retail, and hospitality. Many more women were forced to quit to work, to care for their children, and homeschool them. Economists have said this will affect the recovery of the economy and is a significant step back in terms of gender equality. On behalf of all women across the state of Maryland, I urge Governor Hogan to agree to release money from the Rainy Day Fund to help them provide for their. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandy. Let me turn to another business leader, Bell Leong Hong. Bell?
Thank you so very much, President Tom Hucker, and all Comptroller Franchot and Anthony Brown and Senator Van Hollen. I am the president of a small business, and I'm a 50-year resident of Montgomery County. Like all of you, I have been affected by this pandemic in unprecedented ways. I want to echo what Ken O'Connell just said about his own business. My small business has suffered All of my in-person training contracts have been canceled or postponed indefinitely. So that has affected our revenue significantly. We need to, and I have been able to retain staff, but that is because I've had to give myself loans or get loans to meet payroll. PPP has helped, but now that it's gone, it is becoming much more difficult, and we can't wait until the next relief comes along. The uncertainty of the pandemic duration makes it very hard to know how long we can continue to sustain without letting people go. So far, I've been able to keep my staff, keep them in their health insurance and all of the benefits, but that future is unpredictable. We need the governor to release the rainy day funds so we can survive in this pandemic. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Belle. Also representing so many of our workers that are on the front lines, and including many driving buses, we have Clint Sobrati, the Vice President of UFCW 1994. Clint?
Hi, good. Thank you, Councilmember Hucker, for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the residents of Maryland. As you said, my name is Clint Sobrati. I'm a Vice President of the largest employee union within Montgomery County, the UFCW Local 1994. As a county employee who provided essential service to our community, I understand all too well about the risk and exposure that we are faced with every single day. From the beginning of this contagious and deadly pandemic that has plagued our country, crippled our economy, and destroyed families, we were unfortunate for the passing of 2 McGeo members from this insidious virus. Mr. Michael Miller, who worked in transportation, was the first county employee to succumb from COVID-19. And just recently, our gentle giant, Mr. Nelvin Ransom, a longtime McGeo staff, recently just succumbed to COVID-19. The purpose of a rainy day account is to distribute well-needed funds when a catastrophe, a natural disaster, or pandemic arise. Many families and local businesses are not reluctant to be cash-strapped or governmentally funded and in desperate need of additional financial support to survive and sustain during the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I am calling on Governor Hogan to release taxpayer money from the rainy day account or be held accountable for the continuous loss of businesses, evictions, and homelessness and hunger as we try to maintain through this critical time. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Clint. We're so sorry for your losses as well. Let me turn it back to Reverend Hathaway, who's joined us.
Yes, hello everyone. It is we just finished service, and one of the challenges that we have within the faith community is that we are that line of support when people are most impacted by issues and concerns, and now we find ourselves literally almost like a thumb in the dike. We're not able to hold back the floodwaters of need that's in our community. And so when you think about the fact that from a biblical perspective, we've always knew that you have 7 years of plenty for 7 years of lack. Our state has been very good at squirreling away dollars for the times when we had plenty, but now we're in the time of lack. And so clearly it is the time to release those funds that we had stored up. Now we've gone beyond a rainy day. We're in the midst of a downpour and a storm. And so I would just think that our governor and our leaders should recognize that this storm that we are in must be alleviated by releasing the funds out of the rainy day fund to ensure that the families and the people who are hurting, the people who are most in need, have some relief. And so I believe our state is a great state. I believe our state is responsive to the needs of people. I believe as we continue to raise our voices, I believe our state will respond. And I'm thankful to be a part of this call today.
Thank you so much for joining us, Reverend, and for your words. We really appreciate you being here. Let me turn it over to Doug Prouty with the Maryland State Education Association.
Thanks very much, Tom. I appreciate you including us in the call today. Students across the state of Maryland in our public schools have suffered throughout the pandemic, as we all know. But we're facing a particular crisis that rainy day funds could be used to help alleviate, which is a shortfall in funding for next school year based on enrollment numbers from this school year. Every county and Baltimore City have seen declining enrollment because of the pandemic and because of the fact that we're all in virtual learning, or started the year at least in that way. So we're encouraging the Comptroller, the Treasurer, and the Governor to use rainy day funds to make up for a shortfall in funding for our public schools for next year. We need it. Obviously, students are going to come back to school in need of lots of support, our educators as well, because we're all going through significant trauma right now. So we encourage rainy day funds to be used to make up for a lack of public school funding. Thank you very much for including us, Tom.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Doug. Let me turn it to Letitia Howard with SEIU 1199. Letitia, I think you're muted.
Yes, I'm here. Hello. Yes, so thank you very much for this call. The hospitals, of course, we're dealing with short staffing, and we're actually nurses or staff that would help us to support us are actually going to other places because either they're paying hazard pay or bonuses or something like that. Because, you know, I've been in quarantine. We've lost coworkers. A good bit of us have gotten sick from coronavirus. So just having the rainy day fund release will help us to get the additional staff that we need because we're at maximum capacity, and also to help us with PPE. We're still reusing PPE. So, you know, having fresh PPE would be great, and that would reduce us from, you know, getting the virus and so forth. So thank you very much. I really, really hope that these funds are released. And for our patients, food, eviction notices are their worries. And if you're worried about that, you're not going to get well. So we really, really need this fund to release. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything that you and all your members are doing, Letitia. Let me turn to Pat Moran with AFSCME, Maryland.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. And thank you to everyone on this panel. You know, we represent the over 20,000 state and higher education employees that work for the state of Maryland. And while our members have been engaged in fighting the virus every single day since it started, the governor has shown no interest really in providing the necessary tools to allow our members to work safely and healthily in a healthy manner. And it's frustrating and dangerous. We've lost, unfortunately, 7 members due to the virus as a result of exposure at the job. And, you know, there are other things, a number of other things the governor could have done during this whole process and the pandemic, specifically using the work share program. We're one of the states that takes advantage of that, and where people applied for unemployment benefits, they could have been eligible for additional funds if the administration had done the work to do that. But unfortunately, they've shown their laziness and their careless disregard for working people, our members included, some of whom don't even make $15 an hour working for the state of Maryland. And, you know, so this is needed. This is needed not for only the folks that Comptroller Franchot described, who, and some of our members fit in that category, but everyone in the state of Maryland. This is what the rainy day fund is for, and this is how it should be used. So thank you, and we wish us all luck.
Thank you so much, Pat. And let me turn to Devang Shah, the board chair of Interfaith Works. Devang.
Thank you, Tom, so much for putting this together. Again, I serve as a board chair for Interfaith Works, where we have 130 employees and 12,000 volunteers that serve to feed, clothe, house, and conduct vocational training, and provide eviction and utility shutoff assistance for our most vulnerable citizens in Montgomery County. Last year, we served over 17,000 people. Now, our funding has remained steady, but as a result of COVID, our needs are much greater, necessitating increased assistance to families. Since the start of COVID, the average amount of assistance we've provided to households for utility shutoff has increased 66% from $544 to $905. And the average amount of eviction prevention has increased 97%, currently averaging about $953 per household. These families are not experiencing a rainy day, Tom. They're experiencing a monsoon. If the governor does not allow the rainy day fund to assist these vulnerable Montgomery County residents, then these numbers will invariably increase, and so will the misery for more families in our county. We sorely need this pandemic relief, and Montgomery County residents need the relief now. We can't wait. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much, Devon. Let me turn to, we have several of my colleagues from other counterparts in other counties, including the chair of the Prince George's County Council, Calvin Hawkins. Calvin, we're so glad you could join us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, President Hucker. As I listen, I see what's happening across our state is the reality in the county that is Prince George's County. Tom, I'm grateful that you invited me to join this afternoon with the Maryland United COVID Relief Now Coalition and neighboring Maryland jurisdictions to call on Governor Hogan, the State President Ferguson, and House Speaker Jones to release rainy day funds to help all Marylanders and provide COVID relief now. In doing so, Governor Hogan, President Ferguson, and Speaker Jones will help us rise above the challenges that our residents and small businesses are facing. Tom, thank you for this opportunity, and I will yield the rest of my time back to your other speakers.
Thank you so much for being here, Calvin. Let me turn to Arundel County Council Chair Sarah Lacy.
Thank you, Tom. First I have to say I am the chair of the Arundel County Council, but I only speak on behalf of myself representing District 1 in Arundel County. I want to return to the tunnel metaphor that we used so much in our last conference, because we've been using it for a long time. And the thing about a tunnel is we don't know how much longer we need to use this metaphor, right? We've seen light at the end of the tunnel, but as we noticed last time, there's a long train of people, Marylanders and Anne Arundel County residents who are trying to get to this other side of the tunnel. And what strikes me the most about what the state can do is that it's something it uniquely can do. As a local official, I know very well at this point what we can and can't do with our county's rainy day fund, and the state has this unique ability to be able to help the majority of Marylanders that we can't otherwise reach through the county. We just don't have the resources. They're not there. We're going to get into our budget cycles in May, and we just don't otherwise have the ability to do this. But the state can reach, in Anne Arundel County alone, we've got 46,921 households that earn less than $50,000 a year. That's a lot of people and a lot of children, because you can bet a lot of those houses have children. I don't know how many, but if it's just in my district, 17% of the households in my district earn less than $50,000 a year. So the state, by releasing the rainy day funds, as Comptroller Franchot has requested, or as we're all urging to be done today, that represents in the tunnel the state running to the back of the line and helping catch those 46,921 households in Anne Arundel County and the hundreds of thousands of households across the state to move forward through that tunnel, get closer to the end with the rest of us. Thank you.
Right on, Sarah. Thank you so much. Let me turn to Howard County Council Chair Liz Walsh. Liz, we're so glad you're here.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much for organizing this and bringing all these speakers together to speak on this very important issue. I come from a town where rain kills people. I come from historic Ellicott City. For the third time in 5 years, my hometown again faces unimaginable loss. But this latest time, we're not alone. This time, this devastation, this loss is everywhere. All our main streets are filled with struggling shopkeepers and chefs, servers, and bartenders cooks and cleaners whose income is decimated, who can't pay for where they live or what their family needs to eat. In Howard County, we have about 32,000 renting households. Almost a third of our population leases the home where they live from someone else. Median rent around here is more than $1,700. What those families need to stay safe in their homes and what their landlords need to stay whole themselves, we can calculate that. We know this many renters are in distress for this many months of a nearly year-long pandemic where monthly rent costs this much. It's a simple math equation. The state should have at the ready this much dedicated rental assistance now, but so far we don't. And so this quickly becomes much more than a story about numbers and math, but about families, Maryland families in each of our hometowns being evicted right now. Everything they have tossed and upended onto a front lawn or the sidewalk. Prescriptions, clothes, photographs, toys, a Christmas tree. I know because I've seen it. This happened here on my main street in the night, in the brutal cold, hours before the biggest snowstorm of the year, the week before Christmas. A young family, 2 small kids, a dog, out in the streets, in a car on the way to sleep at Grandma and Grandpa's house out west, neighbors scurrying around by headlight in the dark, salvaging what they can in the mess left behind. I join my colleagues in asking you, Governor Hogan, please release reserve and rainy day funds to keep Maryland families together, to keep our families intact, to keep Maryland families safe. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much, Liz. Well said. Let me turn to Calvert County Board of Commission Chairs, Buddy Hance. Wasn't able to join us today, had a conflict at the last minute, but Salisbury Councilmember Michelle Gregory is here. Michelle? I think you might be muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you. So simply put, the federal government has not done their job, thanks to Mitch McConnell blocking so much legislation. The state has the funds available to do something useful now to make it possible for people to get through the next month or two until federal aid arrives. It will not be useful to have that money still sit in the state treasury after people have starved, been evicted, closed businesses are unable to offer jobs to return to. We have enough to support people until the federal systems can take over. Eastern Shore businesses and residents need relief now. Here in Salisbury, we've legislated protections for renters that have been fought by landlords, some even filing in court against them. And some of these landlords are even sitting members of our county council. With 70% of our population in rental housing, we face a disaster on the horizon coming at us incredibly quickly. The vulnerable in our population, the disabled, the poor, have been hit incredibly hard by this pandemic. Governor Hogan, we must release the funds to support our small rural communities from disaster. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Council Member. Let me turn to the county executive, the largest county in Maryland, Mark Elrich, Montgomery County. I think you're muted, Mark.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I just wanted to thank Tom and Comptroller Franchot for the leadership on this issue, and I want to thank the congressional delegation for your steadfast support of our objectives at the federal level. And I am so sorry that you experienced what you did a few days ago. That was just utterly shocking. And I asked Montgomery County residents to stay home, and I actually told them this is what I thought was going to happen. And I'm kind of amazed that it didn't occur to other people this is what these folks were going to do. But I got to say that, we're in a long-term crisis, and it's not going to end when coronavirus ends. Everybody thinks coronavirus ends, we go back to normal. That is not true. We've worked hard to put resources into the hands of individuals and businesses, but despite that, individuals and businesses fear a future where landlords and debt holders come back for rent and unpaid loans. Small businesses have told me that if there's not help on dealing with past debt, they will not be able to reopen or be able to stay open once their efforts to collect those debt. They're waiting to see what we're going to do. Our recovery depends on enabling small businesses to stay open and renters to pay their back rents. Restarting the economy will reduce our unemployment and increase employment. A restarted economy will generate badly needed revenues for the state. We will get back what we spend while the failure to spend on reopening our economy will simply prolong this recession. Do not confuse the wild times on Wall Street now with the destruction of Main Street. And record highs on Wall Street and massive profits for some do not offset the unemployment and shuttered businesses on Main Street. Our crisis is now, the need for action is now. Money sitting in a rainy day account in the state was put there for rainy days. And if we're not in an 11-month-long rainy day, I don't know where we are. We have to act now. We need to use the resources we have. The sooner we put money on the street, the sooner businesses can make plans for opening, and the sooner they can tell their employees that your jobs will be there waiting for them. By acting now, we can help people plan for a brighter and more certain future. Maryland families have suffered long enough. These families need to see we have a plan to assure that they're front and center in our recovery plans. And I'm here to be with my colleagues to encourage the governor to deploy these resources now. Stop waiting for the federal government. Do what we can do and know that what the federal government will complete the job that we start in the state of Maryland. But please act now. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Mark. Let me turn it to the best mayor of the state of Maryland, the only one that votes in my district, Kate Stewart from Tacoma Park.
Great. Thank you very much, Tom. And thank you for everyone getting together today. After the week we've all had, I can't imagine a better way of actually ending it and starting the new week than coming together on behalf of our residents. Yesterday, I spent hours distributing food in the parking lot of our local elementary school. I was actually surprised how much time I spent there, but the time goes by really fast when you're there because there's no time to stop. The line of cars seems endless and the food quickly disappears. And you're quick to realize that people who've been waiting in line for hours for milk and eggs and things like that aren't going to receive them because you ran out of them. On other days since COVID began, I've talked to our small business owners who have poured all their hopes and dreams into their businesses only to have to let go of employees who have become families to them, and in the worst case scenario, close their doors. We need immediate assistance to family and businesses. This is about people going hungry and dreams evaporating. And the longer this goes on, we face a loss of hope and dignity for too many in our communities. We don't have the luxury of time. We don't have the luxury of waiting for other action. We need both direct payments to families and businesses and continued assistance programs. Direct assistance programs help people regain some control in all of this uncertainty. It allows people to decide what food they want to buy and eat. It allows a small business owner to know best how to change their business model right now and react and face the crisis ahead of us. Direct assistance can restore hope and dignity. I've seen it in my own community through the small amounts of direct assistance we've been able to provide. At the beginning of COVID, Tacoma Park started a mini grant program, and we were able to get it up and running very quickly. And we saw what it meant to our businesses and our community to have a system in place where they could get direct assistance. But we can't keep this up as a small city. We need the assistance of the state, and we need it now. Direct help is vital, especially to businesses owned by immigrants and residents of color who are disproportionately affected by this virus and more likely to face barriers to accessing the loan and assistance program needed to survive these unprecedented times. We see this also of our businesses impacted by the Purple Line. And we know that last year, the General Assembly set aside $2 million in fiscal year 2021 funds to help these struggling businesses. And Governor Hogan has not released those funds either. We need the governor to release the funds. We need the direct emergency relief to help residents get the food they need and want, to stay in their homes and keep the doors of local businesses open. And I thank everyone today for joining together, and I look forward to working with you all in the future.
Thanks so much, Mayor Stewart. Let me turn to Laurel Council Member Keith Sidner. Keith?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, President Hooker, for inviting me to this Zoom call. I stand in support with the Maryland United COVID Relief Fund Coalition. I urge the Governor Hogan, Speaker Jones, and President Ferguson to release the rainy day funds to support Marylanders in our area. Also, Councilman Brenston Smith, my co-councilman in Ward 2, he stands with this also. So we urge the governor to release the funds today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me turn to Martin Mitchell with the Prince George's County Young Democrats. Martin? All right. We'll get back to Martin. How about Keanu Smith Brown, the president of the District 30 Democratic Club?
Can you hear me?
Go
Oh,
ahead.
hey, thank you, council member, for having this call today. My name is Martin of PGCYD. Our organization's legislative committee unanimously supported this proposal, as it will do more to help working families and small businesses in a time like need. As Anthony Brown mentioned earlier, there's a lot of people struggling right now, and unemployment is not doing enough. So thank you, and let's get this job done. Thank you, Comptroller. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Keanu Smith Brown, District 30.
Yeah, hey, thank you. Good to see you, Martin. I'm glad you're doing well. To Linda, Dorsey, I see you on the call, and to Michelle Gregory. Thanks to Adriana Lee and David for the invitation, and Councilman Tom Hucker, thank you for having this, as well as Comptroller Peter Franchot and Congressman Anthony Brown, to the many others. I won't talk long, but we appreciate the time that everyone is taking today, taking to call out the truth, which is that we have to change a lot that's going on in our government, and that's going on in people's lives. And in order to do that, we have to commit to our people and to ourselves and to our message and to the promise that we continuously share to the many people every election cycle and outside of those election cycles. And so as committing to that promise and in changing all the things that we need to change, we have to also understand we have one competitor every election, and that's the Republicans. They stand for something that we do not agree with. They don't believe in investing in children's future, their education, and to the families of many who are suffering, especially now in the times of COVID. And so we need to focus on that. And in order to focus on that, we have to make sure that people understand that we are the party of the people, and that we are not going to continue to give them these falsehoods or these false promises. And that means to every elected on this call, that means to every activist that is out there, that means to every organization leader. Willie, I see your NAACP. That means to everyone. And we have to come together, we have to unify, and we have to reach for the stars, because this is the time to do so. Do everything that we possibly can to make a difference in changing as many people's lives as possible. So thank you all. Please stay well, be blessed, and especially in this new year, and to stay strong, because we have a long way to go, but we're going to get there. I do believe so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me call on Vantasha with the Charles County NAACP. Vantasha, I think you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, perfect.
Yes, that's excellent. Actually, first of all, I just want to say what an honor and what a pleasure it is just to be here today and ask me to invite you to this event here. For those who may not know me, my name is Vantasha Sims. I'm a born and bred Marylander, originally from Arundel County, who currently resides here in Charles County. I'm an elected official with the Charles County NAACP, with the Charles County Democratic Central Committee. I'm involved with many different organizations in this county and across the state. I just want to stand in unison with everyone here who has been on this panel here, everyone, all the elected officials from every element of government. We have everyone here at the table that we need to really make a change. We need to not only be about words, we need to really be about action. This is a rally. I am actually at home, but I'm very fired up about what's going on here, not only in Charles County and Southern Maryland, but throughout the state of Maryland and throughout this country. I'm just ready to really unify all of our collective efforts, really to unify what we really need to do to move the state of Maryland forward, to move our residents forward here. So I just want to thank you for all your hard work. Thank all of our elected officials who are here. Please know that we are going to hold you accountable. We are going to make sure that you are accountable and committed to the will of the people here. So once again, I'm here from Charles County, born and bred in the state of Maryland. I'm honored to serve you. I'm honored to assist you. And please know, everyone be safe, be blessed, take care of our children, our families, our workers, our environment, our housing. We really need help when we have more than enough resources to do it. So thank you so much for your time.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Vantasha. Let me call on Prudence Johnson, the president of the United Democratic Women of Maryland.
Hi, thank you so much, Councilman Hucker, for putting this together. Thank you, Comptroller Franchot, as well as all the other elected officials. I just wanted to quickly say my name is Prudence Johnson. I'm the president of the United Democratic Women of Maryland. We represent all 4 regions in Maryland, Central Maryland, which includes Baltimore City and County, Western Maryland, Southern Maryland, and Eastern Shore. We have seen a tremendous amount of supermarkets and small businesses close, creating an increase in food deserts as well as homelessness in our regions. Too many of our families and businesses are suffering and moving toward mental health crises. We have had an increase in suicides as well as other mental health challenges because of the pandemic and the loss of wages, loss and increase in homelessness. We really need you, Governor Hogan, to please release the rainy day fund so our businesses, our communities and residents can thrive once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prudence. I think that is all of our speakers, I believe. So let me thank all of our incredible community members, business owners, elected officials that joined us today and shared your stories. This coalition includes Marylanders, as you saw, from every corner of the state and from all walks of life who have come together for one purpose: to call on Governor Hogan to relieve the suffering by implementing a Maryland stimulus and releasing the rainy day funds. We've heard loud and clear just how these last 10 months have been so damaging for so many Marylanders, and how adequate state funding would save lives, keep people in their homes, and protect our small businesses. That's why this campaign is so important. I know many of you watching are wondering how you could help. You could support Maryland United for COVID Relief Coalition by signing the petition at mdreliefnow.com, mdreliefnow.com. Many of you have already signed that petition. Thousands of people have just in the last 2 weeks. So please share it with everyone you know on all your listservs and your Facebook groups. And that's the only way we're going to get Governor Hogan's attention, to show him the broadest possible support. I want to thank Dave Kuhns, Genevieve Kurtz, Julio Murillo, Jill Ortman-Faust, Manny Welsh, Susan O'Brien for putting this great event together today. And I want to thank all of you, most of all, for being here today. Thank you so much, and we'll keep fighting.
Can I say a word in conclusion?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to especially thank you, Tom, and Dave, obviously, but also everybody who participated. We had a huge number of people on this and lasted the entire hour. So all of the speakers are terrific. And if I could, since I only live a half a block away from Mayor Stewart, could I please congratulate her on her statement, because I thought it was particularly cogent and concise and really spot on. So Kate, job well done. You're my favorite mayor also, of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Comptroller. Thanks again to all of you. Thanks, Comptroller, for your leadership on this and your staff. And everybody have a great day.
Any questions from you? Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah, we can stay on for, you know, why don't we let folks jump off, and then we can stay on and we'll take questions only from media in 5 minutes.
And we've already reached 4,000 people on Facebook today. So congratulations, everyone. Keep sharing it.
Yes, Tom?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is Derek, ATU.
Hey, Derek. Oh, Derek. How are you now?
Yes.
Can we get your remarks? I'm sorry, you were somehow left off the agenda. I beg your pardon.
Right. If you could give me 60 seconds.
Please.
Well, first of all, let me thank you.
Transit Union.
Yes, thank you first and foremost for organizing this. I also would like to urge the governor to release these rainy day funds. I am Greater Silver Spring Democratic Club, Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee, Labor Advisory Committee. We have a big issue with the budget shortfalls to stave off the layoffs in fiscal year 2021, which starts in July 2021. Sorry, the fiscal budget 2022. We have problems with, we don't have an endless supply of PPE. We want to get these layoffs off the table so we can concentrate on our job. We need additional funds for transit bus security because we need mask enforcement. We have individuals getting on the bus without masks, threatening to cough and spit on the operators and the riding public in general. The economic burden of contracting COVID-19, and you have to quarantine out of your primary residence, comes right out of pocket of us workers. We don't have COVID-19 emergency pay. It's been reduced from 14 days to 10. You know, our motto is we move this city. And when we move this city, we transfer other frontline essential workers to and from their job. And, you know, I like to get those funds released so we can continue this transportation of all these workers. Help avoid layoffs, increase security on transit buses, so we as essential workers can do the job that we are paid to do in a safe manner. And again, the other essential workers, your low wage earners that are forced to ride the bus, to keep them mobilized so they can make it to and from their jobs. Again, I'd like to thank you for hosting this. I'd like to thank all the panelists. And if I could take a point of personal privilege, wish Chris Van Hollen happy birthday today and a belated happy birthday to our great mayor. I'm in Silver Spring, but it's actually Tacoma Park, Kate Stewart. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the invite. And we look forward to working on you and getting these rainy day funds out.
Thank you so much, Derek. Sorry to skip you over. I must have left you off the list. I'm so sorry. I'm sure it's my screw. But I'm so glad you could be here, and I hope you and your members stay safe. Thanks so much again to everybody for joining. And if there's any questions from the media, we can stay on for those.
It looks like we have a question from Christine Condon. Christine, if you want to unmute yourself. Next on deck is Nicole Davis and then Linda from Baltimore County.
Yeah, hi, my name is Christine Condon. I'm a reporter with the Baltimore Sun. Just a quick point of clarification that I wanted to ask. I suppose this is probably a good question for Tom, but perhaps any of you guys could answer it. In terms of what you all are really looking for at this point, is it for the governor to release those rainy day funds for then counties to disperse as they see fit in localities to help residents? Is that kind of the best way to describe it?
I mean, I think there's probably a number of different sort of proposals that we'd probably all be happy with. The Comptroller was talking about direct payments to the lowest income Marylanders that have children because he knows the capability of his office to get those kind of payments out into people's bank accounts immediately. I know those of us, many of me and my counterparts at the local level are concerned about the impact on our budget. I can just tell you in Montgomery County, our revenues are down by 100 million and our expenditures are up by 190 million over this year's budget. So we're about 300 million in the hole halfway through the year. And we were counting on more local aid from the federal government. As was mentioned, Mitch McConnell stripped that out. So we were looking forward. We certainly need more funds available to get out on the street in the form of emergency food assistance, rental relief, and many other just frontline services that people count on.
Let me comment on that if I could. Look, obviously we have $1 billion plus in the rainy day fund. That's number one. We also have $585.6 million in the positive fund balance immediately available. We also have a huge potential installment of money that we could get out of the debt community. So what we're asking today, or what I'm asking today, is that the 462,000 Maryland families, 830 of them that have dependent children, receive a $2,000 grant from the state of Maryland immediately. This cannot be done if we have to go through the legislative or congressional process. It has to be done now. That would be about $924 million, which is immediately available. In addition to that, we're asking that $250 million be added to that to help provide direct grants to the hospitality sector and small businesses to keep them alive. Once again, it's one time only, revenue neutral, budget neutral, instantly accessible money that will save the state lots of money if we can avoid these businesses closing, and if we're able to allow financial survival for these hundreds of thousands of Marylanders. The key here is the speed. If we don't do it now, it's not going to be effective. And God bless all the speakers. I think Mayor Stewart from Tacoma Park hit the nail on the head, who said, yeah, there are lots of good things happening down the road. Right now, we need this provided. And the only agency that can do it is the Comptroller's office. If we take this money and send it down to the locals, God bless Tom Hucker and everyone else, it just adds weeks to the process. So what we need is to have the okay from the governor and the two legislative leaders, to me, the Comptroller, and I will the next day put this money, this cash to work. And you'll see an immediate economic benefit to the entire state because that money has a multiplier effect. And then finally, it can be replenished and replaced almost immediately in the March debt program that we have that we're going to do anyway. We can just add in that $1.25 billion direct assistance, add it in and use debt to replenish the rainy day fund and the positive fund balance. But I can't emphasize enough that if we wait for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, it's too late. And Tom, thank you again for the urgency of now and the need to do something. I'm not suggesting that you guys don't get local assistance once the Biden administration, everybody kicks in, but for the benefit of the Baltimore Sun, to pick a phrase from one of my predecessors, do it now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Christine, I would just add, there's no higher authority than the chief fiscal officer of the state you just heard from, but I will mention Treasurer Kopp also fully agrees with the need for Maryland stimulus. She joined us on the press conference 2 weeks ago before the holidays, and she wasn't able to join us today, but she feels the exact same way. So you have 2/3 of the Board of Public Works calling on the governor to release this package as a stimulus to stimulate our economy right now. And it's not only the humane thing to do. You heard how our businesses are hurting, and so many 1 in 4 report in a survey that they may close in the next few months, but it's the fiscally responsible thing to do because we know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel coming a few months from now. But any business that we allow to close permanently, not only do we lose those jobs for good, we lose the income tax, the commercial income tax, and the individual income tax revenue from the owners of that business for good. That makes no sense at all. It's fiscally unwise. It's much better and much more humane to just give